Well, it's another episode here with Wake Up with KC. And today I want to talk about, change, transformation. And is there a shorter way to our path in changing? And what does that look like? What is that experience like? And how can we do that? And today I have a very special guest joining us, Jenny Mannion. Jenny, welcome. I
It's so
love
nice
the
to
artwork in
be
the background.
here. Thank you. Love the moon.
Me
So,
too. I get excited when there's a full moon.
yeah, we got a new one we got a good one coming on Tuesday too. So yeah, very exciting. Always good to be in phase and just in sync with the moon. Full moon's always good for releasing, new moon for calling new stuff in. So may as well embrace that extra power.
Absolutely. And it's very energetic. We are
It's
all, when you agree, we're connected to the sun, we're connected to the planets, we're connected to the moon energetically.
absolutely. And each other.
That too. And we're one dysfunctional family. That's what I say. And that's the beauty of it. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah,
In
yeah,
a way, it is beautiful, but then in a way, it's like pros and cons.
right.
You
And it is
know,
a journey. I mean, just like the journey to love ourselves, the journey to be able to love other people as they are and drop the judgment and just feel that connection. And there's discernment. We don't necessarily have to be around the people that we feel are highly dysfunctional, but there's just that love, understanding that hurt people, and really that unconditional love for all.
Well, wouldn't you agree that there is a misconception about love?
Yeah, there are a lot of misconceptions about love for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely, because when we come into this planet, this earth, we're already being conditioned of what love is like, what
Yeah.
love's supposed to be, how it's
Mhm.
supposed to feel. We're looking on the outside instead
Right.
of inwardly. And it's a belief, it's a program.
Yeah, and we're not taught to love ourselves first. We're taught in the beginning that that's selfish or you're conceited or, but really building that healthy foundation of self-love, knowing that yeah, we're taught to treat other people, like we want to be treated, but treating ourselves that good too, not repeating the negative programming that we might have heard from our parents or family or other,
Society,
yeah,
religion.
society, relationships. I mean, really living life with this sense of always beginning anew, like we're always learning, but always that deep forgiveness for ourselves too. Sometimes we can just be so hard on ourselves and repeat the one negative thing we feel like we said or did over and over to ourselves instead of embracing the beautiful things we did, the ways we reached out to people, or the ways we nurtured ourselves.
Well, even like speaking with you right now, just something came up to me. It's like, yeah, religion is taught you to love one another, forgive, you know,
Right.
others, but never forgive yourself or love yourself
Yeah.
first.
It has to come first because we attract relationship based on our relationship with ourselves. If we feel like we're not worthy, we're going to attract people that kind of prove that to us over and over and over again.
Well,
So it
not
really
only
is about
that,
embracing our self-love.
but we attract what we're programmed
Yeah.
from our upbringing, and it even goes back generational,
Yeah,
energetically. That's where energetic trauma comes in,
right. Right, but we
because
have the opportunity to heal that generations back too with our own self-love and self-worth and work. It is little inner work, healing doesn't always look pretty, to come to these realizations, but it's better than beating ourselves up and repeating the same patterns that didn't serve our ancestors. We can break that. We have the power to break that. And it does always come to that unconditional love and forgiveness and awareness is the most important thing because right now we have so many distractions, and ways to self-sabotage ourselves. We could dive into a number of different ways to self-sabotage, really like being quiet and present and tapping into that unconditional love we all have. But that's usually not the voice that's running in our head.
No, because the like there's two, like, part of the discernment that you mentioned earlier. Wouldn't you agree? Like, there's a voice that is so loving, so compassionate towards you. That is a part of your higher self that's connected to divine source. But then there's that other voice, that negative.
Yeah.
You talk about the ego.
Yep.
So discerning and knowing that, okay, wait a minute. Here's this voice that I hear that's really loving and soothing and comforting. But then there's this other voice that, oh no, you can't do this. That's part of discerning,
Right.
of connecting. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. We need to be able to connect to that higher voice, not just react. Yeah, not just react from the past stories and hurts and limitations that we believe because we keep repeating them. I mean, we all do have the ability to tap into that unlimitedness of being, that connection to all, the ability to overcome the challenges that we've been repeating in our heads over and over again. But it does take a different perspective, and it does take love to really find that, and quiet. I mean, that is the big thing, quiet. So many people are attached to their phones and laptops and every bit of communication all the time. But really, I mean, I tell my clients, even in the shower, find that time in the shower. That can be your meditation time, to just truly connect in with yourself. You're receiving the healing power of water at the same time. Like, imagine the negativity going down the drain. Like, really get in touch with yourself, set those positive intentions for the day, be loving and kind to yourself. Give yourself something that you're grateful for yourself, that you've done, for yourself or other people. There's so many things we do in a day for ourselves and other people. We never give ourselves any credit. So, I mean, just like if we were to treat an animal or a child like that, that would be unacceptable. But we get away with it with ourselves because we're just not taught differently.
So now I know you're a bestseller author, speaker, intuitive, and so much more. And you even wrote a book, The Short Path to
Mhm.
Success, or Short Path to Change,
Mhm.
which is success in
Which is
itself.
success.
um, but how did you, or when did you discover that you were an intuitive healer?
Well, I think the path really began with my own healing. I was sick for 7 years. I was told I'd be in a wheelchair, and I wound up healing myself in 3 weeks of all chronic illness. So that awoke me to really the power of the mind, because all I did was put my attention on gratitude, on the parts of my body that were feeling good instead of the parts of my body that were hurting. Really switched my mindset, which changed my energy, which allowed for healing to come in. So within 3 weeks, I was healed and wanted to shout it from the rooftops, like, hey, you can heal, you can feel better, and really started to apply that to different areas of my life, and also just gain resources. I love tools. I love learning from a bunch of different people and resources. And I think one of my gifts is really to be able to talk to someone and kind of know what tools they would resonate with, and but I believe we should all have that big spiritual toolbox, because there are going to be times where we're like, no, I don't feel like doing that. I don't feel like, setting intentions right now, or I don't feel like praying right now. So really having this big box of tools that we can pull from to support ourselves.
So let me ask, because now I'm curious from your the conditions that you were, and the chronic pain and whatnot. Did you discover that that was emotional, energetic traumas from the past, and generational stuff that manifested in you?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a lot of this lifetime, and I'm sure there were past things that were related to that as well. But it is interesting. I call myself a recovering perfectionist. As women too, we tend to want to do everything and be everything to everyone. So really that kindness to myself was something I really wasn't taught or wasn't very good at. I was always criticizing myself or not good enough. I had, 20 things on my list and expected everyone to be crossed off. And, at some point my body's like, nope, sorry, you're not listening, okay, it's not like our body's punishing us, but it's really trying to get our attention, and I can look back and be like, oh, I got signs before I was really debilitated and not able to move, but I wasn't listening to the signs. We usually just push ourselves harder. And even when our body shows us pain, our reaction isn't to be kinder to our body. It's to be like, oh, why is this hurting? And, really dive into kind of the agony of pain instead of, wow, my legs hurt. Let me put my hands on them and send them love. Let me thank them for how they've supported me up until this point. Like, we're not taught things like that really can change our cell structure. Our energy does contribute to the cells that are always being made in our body. So it just was so helpful to witness that firsthand, so that I could give people other exercises, create some, and learn some that I could hand off to other people, because I don't feel like it has to be complicated. I do feel like it can be a short path, and it's just having these really short tools, easy tools that we can implement during the day. We don't have to be meditating for 3 hours a day. Like, no one has time for that. It's really just bringing yourself back to your awareness. How have you been talking to yourself for the last 10, 15 minutes? What energy do you want to put out there? And yeah, just raising that mindfulness within that's power. It's such power.
And would you agree that now, coming from someone that's empathic, I feel other people's pain.
Yeah.
So I have to check, like, wait a minute, I didn't have this a moment ago. I don't think this belongs to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, and I just send love and healing to,
Right.
okay, wherever this came from, I give it love and set it free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And being a massage therapist, I used that empathic gift to tune in what was going on with my client when I was
Mm-hmm.
massaging, and then I would make recommendations and,
Mm-hmm.
give words of wisdom and whatnot. But a lot of times people don't even listen to that. They just want a instant gratification, instant temporary. It's like me putting a band-aid on something that, you're gonna come back. And I'm like, no, that's not how this doesn't work.
Exactly.
You know, you gotta pay attention to your body because your body's communicating to you of something
Right.
that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're used to the doctors giving us a pill to grant that temporary relief instead of the true healing. I mean, your body, like you said, you have to listen to your body. Your body's communicating to you. You're not in balance. Hey, hey, it's raising its hand. Hey, something's off here. I need love, I need balance, I need attention. So, I love the chakra system for that, because, and I know massage, that well, too, like really understanding that deep energetic connection to our energy centers. They're our communication center. They can tell us when things are off. So being able to, I wish that was taught, in first grade, getting people to know about that, so they'd had that power.
And that's been around for like what, 3,000 to
Yeah.
5,000 years, Reiki. That's the Eastern Hemisphere
Yeah.
teachings, and there's ancient writings about it.
Yeah.
It might have been in a different language. I mean, there's energy healing in India and, Asia parts. And, it's fascinating to me when I started, understanding about Reiki and where it came from.
Mhm.
And even there is a great teacher, uh, that is in a great book. It's called The Bible. He actually traveled to India and
Yeah.
Asia to learn about energy. And
Right.
then he went
That's
to,
omitted though.
say what?
That's omitted from the Bible.
Yeah, and then to discover that he went to Egypt to
Yeah.
study about reincarnation.
Yeah.
He actually lived there, had a wife, had kids.
Yeah.
So that like awakened me to,
Mhm.
wait a minute, hold up a second, there's more, to this than meets
Mhm.
the eye kind of thing. And that's when I was at a certain part of my life. It wasn't so much as pain like you experienced, but mine was, the repeated patterns of abuse in a relationship. and having kids and getting so frustrated and depressed and like, is this all there is to life? Because I don't want to be
Mhm.
here then,
Right.
and I got like to the point where I was adamant, angry, and almost like, this is it. I want the truth now. I'm done with this bullshit.
Mhm.
Even with religion, because it was like I was getting contradiction and feelings and experiences that didn't line up. And I was like,
Right.
there's something not right with this scene, this picture, whatnot. So I want to know the truth now.
Mhm.
And that's when the like I guess the energy shifted and things
Mhm.
people started showing up. Dr. Joe Vitale, um, Carol Tuttle, Margaret Lynch, EFT, NLPs, and you know, I can still remember Dr. Vitale telling me, ask the question everything. You
Mhm.
have been doing it all along, but you were
Mhm.
shut down, you were told this and that, and we are when we're a kid. When we
Mhm.
start questioning things, but then we're taught, "Oh, you gotta honor and obey your
Right.
parents, and you don't disrespect them," and there's a confusion about that because you're not being disrespectful, you're actually honestly questioning things.
Yeah.
Oh, because I said so, or this is how it is, this is the word of God, and you got to obey it, da da
Yeah.
da da. And I think now going back, that's a lot of the issues that human beings deal with.
Mhm.
They have a misconception of who they are, they're
Yep.
confused about their identity, and they're confused about who they should be and being their authentic self.
Mhm. They don't know who their authentic self is because it's
No.
been so buried for so long.
Oh,
Yeah.
for thousands of years.
Yeah. And one of the ways I tell my clients to really connect to that is what brings you joy. Because when we connect with what brings us joy, we were talking earlier about the water, like being near the water or, dancing in your living room or singing top of your lungs, like what, or, anything type of artistic expression, like what brings you joy, that connects you back to your soul. That connects you back to your authentic self without the judgment, without those, comments. If you can connect to that flow, and state of being, you get more of that. You can remember. It's always like that remembering, oh, right. When I was a child, before I was shut down, I did love doing that thing, or I did feel connected to that.
Right. And you have a thing about reawaken.
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Because I do feel like when we're little, we're connected to everything, but we're slowly shut down by society and our community, by our family members, by our early relationships, friendships, that even little kids, they're mean to each other. Even things they say to you can like shut you down. But it really is this reawakening to remember who we are. We are unlimited. We are unconditional love. I know a lot of us have been exposed to conditional love in our lifetime, but we can connect to that unconditional love, that our higher self feels for us, that is available, but it's just not. I mean, when I started teaching about love and awareness, it was interesting to me. I had a very loving mom. That is not the case with most people. And I started seeing a lot of people that had a lot of trouble connecting to unconditional love. And it would be telling them, connect with your dog, connect with your favorite pet you had growing up, connect with that place in nature, connect with something that you love to do. Because not everyone did have a grown up to look to for that. Most people did not.
No, and that's the sad part. But however, I've discovered that, well, that was their soul journey to
Yeah.
experience that.
Yeah.
And just because, there was I remember hearing somebody talk, and he said, just because you came into this earth with from this mother and father, it doesn't mean that you have to have a relationship with them.
Right.
They gave birth. You decided to come in and have this as your father, this as your
Mhm.
mother to come into this earth. That's it.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that's a interesting perspective to look at it,
Mhm.
and then learning and discovering that, you know, that dysfunctional, the beliefs, the programmings that a lot of the parents, because of how they grew up
Mhm.
and the generational stuff,
Absolutely.
it I'm just like, wow, you know, it's a true eye opener and awakening to the awareness, like, wow, I see, because we see movies of good living
Mhm.
parents and all that, and then you're
Mhm.
in an environment that's very abusive. You know, well, that looks better. Then
Right.
why am I? Then you question yourself, well, why am I not having that? Why am I dealing with this? Why am
Mhm.
I getting hurt from these people? Why is there abuse? It's like a process of connecting and that discernment.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
It is the discernment, and you touched on an important part, like, if your parents were abusive, guaranteed their parents were abusive, and they didn't have whatever it took, whether it be the tools or the self-love or self-worth to change that generational pattern there, the wherewithal. I love the Deepak Chopra quote, "We must realize everyone's doing the best they can from their own state of consciousness." So that deep understanding can allow you to put it into perspective and have compassion for them too, because have a lot of clients that were abused, and in 99.99% of the cases their was abused too, and they didn't heal, so they took it out on the next person. That was their feeling of control. So yeah, it is the discernment and knowing that you might have had to grow up with whatever, your first romantic relationship might have been one that did not suit you at all, but you can learn from that experience, and you don't have to take abuse over and over again. You have to love yourself enough to look at the people around you. Are these people that inspire me? Are these people that I connect with on a joyful level, and I don't feel drained after being with them? And yeah, discernment. I mean, can I deal with this person in my life for 1 hour every year, like for a visit just to check in? Or, can I talk to them on the phone once a month instead of every day? I mean, how does it look for you where it feels safe, where you can put some healthy boundaries in place? And sometimes it's not at all. Some people we do have to let go of in our life. And that was probably one of the hardest lessons on this path for me, because there were friends that I thought I would have forever, but as we grow and evolve, we have to show up for ourselves. And I do believe, like, if that person isn't serving us showing up for them is going to be in resentment or not from our highest, conditional. It'll be from conditional love, not unconditional love. So it's better to part with love, and wish people well, but understand, like, we decide who we surround ourselves around. And it's important that we feel inspired. We're living through a great change right now. We really need that support and that love. And there are a lot of other loving and supportive people out there that need that as well.
Right. And sometimes it's okay to disassociate, cut the
Yeah,
cord.
it is.
Even if it's a parent, even if it's a
Yeah,
sibling. You know,
absolutely.
I'd rather be with people that are uplifting and supportive of who
Yeah.
I am as my true authentic self
Right.
than to be around someone that's going to constantly judge, criticize, put
Hmm.
me down, not allow me to be me.
Right.
And I feel that is the true freedom. Because
Yeah.
once you do it, oh my God, the freedom.
It is like a huge weight has been lifted.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah. And I'm like, at a point in a phase in my life, like, we hear that saying, like, well, I don't care what people think of me anymore. But
Hmm.
we were told growing up, you should care what people think about
Absolutely.
you and how you're dressing, how you're behaving, how you're talking. You shouldn't do that.
Right.
And I'm like, now I'm like, I don't really care anymore. I'm going to be me because
Yeah.
I'm free to be me. I'm
Yeah.
going to speak my truth, express myself the way I feel
Mhm.
to express myself.
I love that, and that's perfect. That's there is nothing better we can do for ourselves than to reconnect with, reawaken that authentic self and live from that space. And you're going to attract the people to you that love you from that space, and the people that get triggered by you, well, then that's their story, or that's more about them than about you.
Yeah. And I look at them like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. Good
Yeah.
luck with that, you know? You know? And then it's a lot of times it's even harder when because we grow up, you know, as children wanting to appease our
Right.
parents, you know, get validation from our parents,
Mhm.
you know, and that's another program is because then you got, the competitiveness, that energy of competing to always, go, 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 thrive, get that success. And then, looking for that approval from
Mhm.
our parents and not getting that. And that puts a wound on us. That's
Yeah, it
also
does.
another trauma.
It does.
And it's like I want to help waken up people. That's why I started this podcast
Mhm.
and getting people to start thinking about, maybe that's one of the reasons why you struggle.
Mhm.
If you start struggling in your spirituality, you're going to start struggling with every aspect, finance, career, relationships,
Right.
everything starts to be out of balance.
Mhm. Yeah, I believe that too. It has to begin with you, and there is a lot of unlearning and undoing when we recognize that, because we all have suffered trauma. We all have been told not nice things to ourselves or said not nice things to ourselves for a long time. We've repeated those negative messages. And the beautiful thing is, again, the short path, it doesn't take, say you've been repeating these things for 30 years, it's not going to take 30 years to undo it. It's really that consciousness around it is that freedom, and
Mhm.
I love that you mentioned all those ways, EFT, NLP, like there are so many modalities, there are so many tools available now that people can tap into to begin this change, and be gentle with themselves during this. And also, I do say to invite that joy into, because the personal development journey, spiritual journey can be hard sometimes, because it can feel like we're always judging ourselves and there's always more layers to take off and to heal. So having fun along the way, really, what does bring you joy, giving yourself permission for that every single day, inviting that in. And it's a way to affirm that life is okay here, as crazy as it might have been up until this point. There are things that I find beautiful and wonderful on this planet, and I'm going to tap into that every single day.
Yeah, because energy goes where attention flows, or
Yeah.
energy flows where attention goes.
Yeah.
And there's like so much negativity, even with social media, the news media, even, TV shows. And it's like, okay, I have to make a decision. Well, I decide
Mhm.
to see
Exactly.
and hear because it goes in here. You're
Yeah, sure
programming
does.
this. So if you're trying to reprogram and have that change, you have to decide, what are you going to take in? What are
Right.
you going to focus on? Are you going to focus continually on the negative? Because that's
Mhm.
like spreading cancer, to be honest. Or you could decide to limit and focus on the positive, the
Right.
beauty, and, getting your joy. Because I believe in, you know, and I'd like to get your feedback on it. When we start doing that individually, we
Mhm.
are also doing it
Oh,
collectively,
yeah.
and we are shifting the energy of our planet Earth that
Mhm.
we live on because we are connected to that energetically.
Absolutely. I believe that. And there's a ripple effect. We can see it in our own life. We know if we have kids, if we show up in a good mood or a bad mood, or if they show up in a good mood or a bad mood, we feel it. We feel it in every core of our being, and especially as empaths, you feel it even more. But if you start to spread that joy and the awareness of love and kindness and that connection, you feel that too, and it is needed at this time, as we do see a lot of, things trying to separate us and make us more fearful. Like, we need to make that conscious choice every day. You know what? No, I'm embracing love, and I'm choosing to feel okay. And I'm choosing to do things that support me and maybe are kind to the people around me too. And really spreading that. It's critical, I feel like, for the planet at this point. And I am so grateful for podcasts like yours that are showing this, sharing this information is really important.
It is. And there's this one great mentor that I truly, no longer present on this earth, but Dr. Wayne Dwyer.
Well, mhm.
He was just like, you have a choice. You could be the host of God or a hostage to your ego. It's your call, And I'm
Mhm.
like, no, I want to be the host of God. I am God,
Yeah.
and he teaches like you are God in
Mhm.
this form.
Mhm.
And I try to teach, we are all divine spiritual beings,
Yeah.
sexual beings inside a human being. We are
Mhm.
so powerful, but we have to wake up from the teachings and the programs that we are powerless.
Yeah.
Stop praying or putting God in control as an outside source when the source is already in you.
Right. Praying from some kind of desperation or something to, where we are the powerful being. We have to be open and in gratitude and in love to really receive that guidance, receive that connection. Because if
And
we're always in fear, we're always separating ourselves.
and it changes the biochemistry in our body to be in survival mode 24/7. We were not created to be that way.
Right.
That's what that contributes to sickness and disease.
Yeah.
And Dr. Joe Dispenza said it perfectly, and Greg Braden and Dr. Bruce Lipton.
I love all
Michael,
those people you just named.
they're like my three musketeers. I love
Yeah,
those three.
I
Like
love
I so look forward to one day being at a round table with those three men.
Oh, that's pretty awesome vision. Yep.
And just like, hey, what about what do you think about this? And Dr. Joe teaches on this. He goes, and Greg and them, they're like, feeling is the language to the soul.
Mhm.
It's not so much words.
Right. Right. Because even when
And
you talk to yourself, it's the feelings that those words give you. Like, if you do something and you're like, I'm so stupid, how does that make you feel?
mhm.
It is the feelings that really inform the cells, inform everything.
And that's part of the rewiring is
Yep.
changing the way you feel. And uh, even though there's some takeaways from that Bible.
Mhm.
Even though it's been so corrupted and interpreted and edited so many times, but there are some takeaways
Oh,
from
yeah.
it. And one of them is your thought,
Mhm.
your imagination. How in the world do you think a lot of what we see today came from one thought? Somebody imagining that, but
Yeah.
God being in that human being
Mhm.
that created this thought, put a feeling, an emotion, energy, and motion to that thought, and then
Right.
took action.
Yep.
What a man thinketh in his heart, so it be.
Yeah.
And just like checking in with yourself. How am I feeling today? What am I thinking?
Mhm.
And what am I feeling? Is it lining up to who I want to become,
Mhm.
what it is that I want to do, and what it is that I want to have in my reality, in my world?
Yeah. That's perfectly said. It is perfectly said. And the more we check in, the more power we have. The less we distract ourselves and the more we're actually present and checking in. If you need to set an alarm on your phone for every hour for a check-in, do that, like whatever it takes. But, especially like the morning before you get out of bed, nighttime before you go to sleep, the shower, those are all like power times to really start paying attention to what we're putting into our head, what we're feeding ourselves nonstop.
I have a playlist called Winning the Morning. So when I get up, I get my coffee. And, one of my guilty pleasures is, I smoke cigarettes. So I go outside, put that playlist on, and start reprogramming,
Love it.
rewiring, and what
Mhm,
intentions and getting that good vibe feeling and how I see my future self coming into my present now,
mhm.
and it starts my day.
Love that. Yeah, it is so important how you start your day, because a lot of times it's just already people are projecting, "Oh, no, this is gonna happen, and I have to do this." It's the to-do list, and it's the
Living
worry,
in the
and
past.
yeah, yeah.
If you're constantly thinking about what happened yesterday and, you know, 3 months from ago, 6 months ago, last year,
Yeah.
you're living in the past. Dr. Joe Dispenza is very adamant. Like, you
Mhm.
get out of when you start thinking about what you coulda, shoulda, what
Oh,
you
yeah, no
deserve, like,
coulda, woulda, shouldas.
even from traumas, like
Mhm.
being in a, uh, an accident or having an injury,
Mhm.
staying in that "woe is me, this happened to me"
Yeah,
kind of mentality.
yeah. But we're not taught to love ourselves and be compassionate with ourselves during that time. I know that like my mom passing was like one of the toughest things I ever had to deal with because I loved her so much, and she was my best friend. But it was interesting about a year after her passing, I suddenly said to myself, like, Jen, I'm so sorry for your loss, and everything switched. It's like that deep compassion for yourself and love for what you've gone through. And yeah, just like we would offer someone else, like if it was a friend something happened to, we show up and we're there without judgment and love, but how to continually tapping into that unconditional love for ourselves and being the best support we can, with compassion. Again, we know if it was a pet or a child, or someone else, we would give them that. And we know if we don't, the result would be, an abused animal or, an abused child. But yet we do that to ourselves over and over again. So, how do we reprogram ourselves to be our best friends, to show up for ourselves, even if we feel like we said or did something, that we learn. The best thing is we get to learn and experience and choose next time to maybe be a little more present so we aren't reactionary and we do things differently. But yeah, it's so many people do get stuck in the past, but that just means you're giving yourself permission to relive it over and over again and not create the new.
Right. And then, because I love studying and researching history, and it's, you know, and I'm still learning, and like things are showing up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that so makes sense kind of moments,
Mhm.
I call them God realization moments.
Mhm.
Um, but it's like history does repeat. If you don't learn your history, you're
Yeah.
destined to repeat it. And a lot of what we ex, we are experiencing today, it happened thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago. It just took on a different form from
Mhm.
emotional, energetic traumas. And
Mhm.
once we can wake up to, oh, wait a minute, you know, uh, this happened so many years ago, and it feels like it's happening now again. It's just different time period. Uh, People look different now than
Mhm.
compared to then. And it's like, even, with death and whatnot, like I lost my dad, and I know that pain of,
Mhm.
and I was just now reconnecting that father daughter relationship with him.
Mhm.
And I had to go through a moment and remembering of, hold up a second, you know, he came and it was time for him to go.
Mhm.
No matter what, the soul, when the soul's ready to leave
Mhm.
this earth, it doesn't matter what happened to that being.
Right.
It was time, it happened,
Mhm.
and you might not understand the reason why,
Mhm.
but just because they left the physical realm
Mhm.
doesn't mean that they're not in the invisible
I
realm that
know.
no one talks about.
Mhm.
The invisible realm, the spiritual realm. So I'm like, now I had to tell myself, I'm like, well, now he could be with you 24/7 if you want,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and the signs, the synchronicities that I was
Mhm.
receiving when he left this earth, it was mind blowing. I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I get it now. All right, Dad, thanks, Dad. It's just certain things that resonated with me on the
Mhm.
truth that they're always there.
Yeah.
And whenever you need a a
Yeah.
reminder, the sign shows up.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
big thing that connects
Ask.
you to him or
Yeah.
her,
Yeah.
whatever be, they show up
They do.
in the most loving way. And
Mhm.
that's when I was like, okay. So now when, there's been so many traumas and deaths lately that we can't help but seeing on
Oh,
the news,
yeah.
but whatnot. And I was like, wow. And how I was like, okay, I'm going to be an observer, but being empathic, feeling that pain, that
Right.
loss, the grief, and
Mhm.
everything. I was like, okay, I want the truth about this.
Mhm.
Like in this day and time, you know, these young little souls and whatnot.
Mhm.
And, like, what is the purpose of this?
Mhm.
You know, and, what came to me is during the chaos, and yes, there's things that happen to us individually, but there's a
Mhm.
collective
Oh,
aspect.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is a hard pill to swallow. But in order to bring, it's like letting something old die
Yep.
and clear space for something new.
Mhm.
So I'm like, and it's like a sacrifice.
Yeah.
So how many times have you seen in history things
Yeah.
like that took place? It was because collectively those souls came just for that purpose,
Mhm.
to bring light, to
Right.
bring compassion, to bring unconditional love.
Mhm. Yeah, to touch people that maybe you weren't aware before, weren't paying attention before, to really, yeah, tap into that consciousness and that deep compassion and love. Yeah, and what a huge sacrifice and how beautiful that is, although it is painful too, but again, tapping into that unconditional love. I love what you said about your dad, like really knowing that they're always here. It's just a different level of consciousness. And when we recognize that, it's a whole lot easier to deal with. Obviously, we miss the hug, whatever the physical, but it's letting go of that and allowing for that new relationship to be formed.
Yeah, and it's just like, so like, because knowing and remembering certain aspects now of what it's like to be in that soul form, how many times I've been here,
Right.
you know? So what is it like? Where did you go today, Dad? Did you go to, because there's so many dimensions on that other
Mhm.
side,
Mhm.
you know? And a lot of people, like, because I even question about the light,
Mhm.
go to the light.
Right.
But now it's like, wait a minute, that light is part of my connection because I am light. I'm just a particle of that big light. So, in order to fully connect to like that other part of me, it's
Mhm.
like it only makes sense to go to the light.
Right.
And it's like going back home, and you enter through this true meaning of everything, knowing everything, and experiencing something even more amazing.
Mhm.
And then you could stay in that form, your true authentic form, which is unlimitedness,
Mhm.
powerful, changeless.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, if people could wake up to this, and now I'm like, well, wait a minute. There's these souls that are like seem like they're earthbound and they're reliving their past from whatever time period they're at, walking around the gravestones and the cemeteries and whatnot, walking around houses and you know and whatnot. I'm like, they're still connected to the earth too. So how do we change that and help them go to the light?
Mhm.
So I'll help change the earth too. Like those are one of my questions that I like recently started asking. I'm like, well, wait a minute. If we're connected energetically, so are they, even though they're on the invisible realm.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, some of the work I do, like with the Akashic Records, is, connecting with those spirits and helping people. Like I'll do property clearings where I'm connecting and helping people pass over again with the greatest intention, like of just people being at peace. I mean, that really is it. We just want everyone at peace and comfortable where they are and on the planes that they're on. But I do feel like we can do that. We can tap in. We can, ask how we can help, how we can be of service.
Me and my daughters, I don't know if you remember this show, The Ghost Whisperer.
I don't actually, wait, that sounds
Kim
familiar. Who was
Lovett.
in that? That what it was
Kim
a
Lovett, Kim Hewitt Lovett, or something.
Yeah. Wow, I
Yes,
forgot
me and my
about that
daughters would
one.
tune in on that show, and we were like, "Man," and they would look at me like, "Mom, is that your gift too?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but that's interesting. I resonate with that." And I so wanted to go and do that,
Wow.
go to the light. I actually did that to a cemetery just recently in Georgia. I was just like, "Go to the light. It's so much better." Can you hear me now? Like just go to the freaking light. There's no fear. You're forgiven. Don't worry about it. Just go to the light. And the people that I was with, actually, I was with my son celebrating uh, his, to me, it was his first birthday. He turned 35. And he just shaking his head. He goes, "Yep, that's my mom." So he got tickled at me. I'm like, "I'm just telling the truth. That's all, I could tell you is this is my truth. I need to help them get to the light. But it is fascinating. And now I'm like a little kid, just curious,
Yeah.
and in wonder and in awe. And life is a mystery. It's also
Mhm.
a journey and an adventure. And
Yeah.
when you look at things that you experience now, it's like it doesn't hurt so much. It's
Mhm.
now I look at it like, okay, what am I learning from this?
Right. The opportunities were offered in every, I mean, we can dive down deep into the self-pity and the rabbit hole, but that doesn't serve us, or we can see the opportunity in it and get some love and lessons from it and be compassionate with ourselves to help ourselves through it instead of just sinking and, you know, admitting defeat. Like we're never defeated. There's always a way out. It's just really tapping into that unconditional love. And if you need to ask for support, there's plenty of support. You need to learn some more tools. I'm like you, I'm constantly grabbing more tools and learning more tools, but there's always hope and there's always unconditional love. And that's really, yeah, I mean, what people need to tap into now and feel now is they're not alone. Even if you've been isolated, you're not alone. There are ways to feel better. There are ways out of your situation. And yeah, I mean, we all have these there, if you have Wi-Fi, connect, or there are ways you can learn to feel better.
Yes, and to transform your life and
Yeah.
finding your true authentic self. I think there's coaches, there's, intuitive
Mhm.
healers like you, energy worker, light worker, healer like myself, and
Yeah.
channeling. Um, I find that fascinating. That's one of my spiritual gifts is channeling, but I'm channeling in ancient languages
Mm, mhm,
from ancient civilization, highly evolved beings, if you want to
mhm,
call them ETs, connecting with them because they're there too,
mhm.
trying to
This
help, like be our
Yeah.
spirit guides, our guardian angels,
Mhm.
whatever you want to call them. There are those that are really want to help humanity and help the planet.
Right. Yeah, I do feel like that too. We have so much support, but we're not taught how to tune into that. It's
No,
really like we're told we're separate and we need to do this alone. And, you're weak if you ask for help, but it's the opposite of what's true,
oh,
So,
you're asking help from an outer source, like a savior, which is a program when
right.
you are your own savior. You need to save
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
And how can you help others if you don't help yourself first?
Right.
How can you love somebody else if you don't love yourself first?
Right. But we're not taught that. It is a relearning and a remembering. Because, yeah, I mean, on the plane, they tell the moms to put on their masks first, and that can seem counterintuitive, but it is. We need to help ourselves first. And we get that reflected back to us a hundredfold. When we feel good, we meet the people that reflect that back to us. And we have fun and fulfilling relationships. And yeah, life just gets a whole lot easier. But it does begin with us and that self worth, knowing we are worthy of a life that has good relationships and good finances and a good career and good physical health, good emotional health. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people feel like, I don't know, if one thing's going right in their life, everything else needs to be wrong or the other shoe's going to drop. But really understanding we are meant to live life, in flow and easily. But yeah, there's some deprogramming that needs to happen
Oh,
and
yeah.
a whole lot of just self
Well,
love.
deep programming to become aware of.
Yeah.
Some people will call it the matrix,
Mhm.
or reality. We create our own reality.
Mhm.
And if you're buying into that negative, you're going to continue
Yeah.
creating that negative reality.
Right.
And for women, I feel we all need to wake up
Mhm.
because we've been suppressed long enough. We've been through enough. It's time to wake up, take our power back, and make a difference and an impact for not just for us, but
Right.
for the future generations.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. It's the time of the divine feminine, that more intuitive nature, leading with love instead of leading with strength, that brute force and strength.
Well,
It's a different kind of strength. It's that inner strength, plus that's that love and intuitiveness.
the nurturing, the
Yeah.
caring that's innated already in us. That's why
Mhm.
we were created to give life into this earth.
Yeah.
That is the one of the most precious gifts that we were given,
Yeah.
not just for sexual pleasure, but to also bring life. Granted,
Mhm.
our sexual pleasure gives us even more power and
Sure
in the
does.
most loving
And that's
way.
about receiving too, being women being tuned in enough to receive that love and receive that pleasure and feel deserving of that pleasure. Because there are a lot of women that are shut off there too, because of bad experiences or feelings of
Abuse,
guilt.
sexual abuse, rape.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that to me that's like a propaganda, to keep us from tapping into our true power.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, I've been there, done that, seen the movie, got the t-shirt, burned that shit a couple times, and I'm still going strong. Like, that is not gonna stop me,
Mhm.
and I love having these kind of conversations.
Yeah, me too. I'm so grateful you invited me on. I'm so grateful to be here with you.
So you have, I think I posted your book, and you have workshops available too. Is that correct?
I do have workshops. I recently started another women's group. I've led women's groups on and off for 10 years. Yeah, I have some online classes. I have an online community where I offer oracle readings and monthly free energy healing, as well as, yeah, I do coaching and mentoring, Akashic readings, shamanic work. I really just like help. I love giving people tools so they can continue to help themselves and tap into that unlimitedness of being. Just keep tearing off those layers and, making freeing themselves more and more to really be their authentic self.
I would love to have a Akashic reading from you. That
Oh,
sounds
I love that work.
interesting.
I love that work. Yeah, and again, it's tapping into, okay, what are some of our blocks and restrictions that we've experienced maybe over and over again, from past lifetimes, from this lifetime, but giving ourselves permission to remove that conscious permission. You know what? I'm over this. And what the Akashic readings can do is show what karma might be running or what contracts might be in place, and that ability to be like, yeah, I'm ready to remove this. So when I do a reading, I'll give someone information. Sometimes it's like a 6 to 12 page report, but then there's also a prayer, a 21-day prayer. So they can, okay, I'll ask my guides and the guides to do the clearing, but it's really that power is in the 21-day prayer of them saying, you know what, I'm ready. I'm ready to release this. And I've seen physical manifestations. I know when I had mine done, it was a real spiritual awakening for me. So it really is whatever you're looking for, whatever you're ready. That next layer again, I love all these tools. I'm so grateful there's all these modalities, but that is one I've been doing for about, I think, 13 years and passionate about.
And it's an ongoing journey, really, to
Yeah, it
go
sure
through the
is.
the healing and the learning,
Yeah.
and it raises your consciousness to
Yeah.
a whole nother, like, some people call it Christ consciousness,
Hmm.
and wow, I'm impressive. And I'm just totally impressed with you and what you're doing to
Thank
help
you.
make a difference and an impact. It's it's truly an honor, and I'm so
Thank
grateful to have
you.
this experience in this moment with you on my show. Thank you, Jenny, so much.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored to be here with you. I loved our conversation. I could talk to you forever. Thank
I
you.
know, right? We have to stay connected now. It's like I met another member of my family.
Yes, I love that. Sending much love.
Yes. Hold on one second. All right.
Mhm.
Well, there you go. What an informative and enlightful interview that I've had. If you want to know more, I'm curious more, then please reach out to Jenny. All her information is there for you to help you along your path of healing, your purpose, whatever it takes to bring change in your life that you need right now. So you never know who I'm going to get on this show. So you got to stay tuned. And makeup and skincare is provided by Pharmacy, and jewelry provided by Pretty Bling Boutique. So if you want to know more about that, just click down the links below. Until then, stay tuned for more of Wake Up with KC.